What's up, folks? And you gotta love when our national correspondent comes on because you can see him, and if you can only see him dancing to the intro song, it's quite hilarious. But listen, thank you all for tuning in tonight. We do appreciate it. And for those who are listening overseas, stateside, and now in Australia, we really do appreciate everyone tuning in. Thank you also for being patient as I made the transition from doing the podcast to now being officially a broadcaster. And I will say, this feels like home because when you're a broadcaster, and we'll talk to Rob Maaddi, which he's always been a great friend of the show to us, but it is two different worlds. And it feels funny to even say that. But when you are doing it professionally over the air and over TV, so people can actually see what you look and sound like, it's a complete different thing than doing the actual podcast from the studio. And yes, we are live here at the LG Direct Sales Solutions Studios in Tampa, Florida, and where it is a balmy, 82 degrees out there. And I'm pretty sure Rob is loving the life down here because it is fantastic this time of the year before it gets super hot. Also, happy birthday to Mrs. Maaddi, Rob Maaddi's mom. God bless her, and many, many more happy birthdays to come. So thank her to having her great son so we can have time to speak with him tonight. We know he's always busy, so we're going to get into it. Also, thank you to the Tampa Bay Titans as well for allowing me the opportunity to become their broadcaster. And if you guys want to come out next Sunday, they are on the road this Friday. Next Sunday, if you live down here in Tampa, 1701 North Boulevard in Tampa, Florida, Blake High School, you can Google it. It's right across the street from Armature Works, or actually, Armature Works is directly behind the high school. So if you guys get the opportunity to come out, it's $15 at the door. You can also get it at TampaBayTitans.com. Look under the shop and pick up your tickets then. There's season ticket packages still available. So I appreciate everyone, their support for coming out. Thank you for watching on TBL TV. And with all that being said, I see the lineup already there. The Godfather, the national correspondent, Rob. So let's get everything going on the way here tonight. It is episode 127. I'm Angel, and welcome to Broad Street South. And once again, the national correspondent, now he wants to play the drums. It's all right. So now we'll just get the party really going here with the Godfather and his intro. Here is Mike Fuji. Wait. No drum roll. No nothing. Come on, man. What's up, Fuji?
Feeling 50 and fabulous. How are you? Phil's opener this week. Sixers playoffs. Howie pulled off a trade yesterday. Eagles draft about 3 weeks away. Angel, let's get the party started with Rob Maaddi and the national ring chasing correspondent, Ryan Neff.
Well, make sure we'll do so. Good, man. Listen, by the way, happy birthday to Fuji. Of course, the Godfather turning 50. Major milestones. Happy birthday to Fuji. I see the commentary coming in, so I'll get the commentary in momentarily. And, oh, by the way, also, thanks to one Ducky Cornish, we will be giving away, and we'll have either some sort of contest or something else for the folks living back home in Philly, draft party night tickets. They are available. We're still kind of putting together. We'll start releasing them come either probably this Thursday or next Tuesday in time for the draft. So thank you to Ducky Cornish for doing that. We really do appreciate it. And with that being said, we'll introduce the new dancing machine, also known as the national correspondent. Ryan, how are you?
Gentlemen, I'm well. Fuji, you old cheeky bastard. You.
Still younger than you guys.
Hey,
still the baby right here.
Lot to talk about, man. This Saints-Eagles trade. Sixers are in full swing for the playoffs. Philly season coming up. Let's get to it, man.
Yeah, and there's
right down and dirty, baby.
Exactly.
There's like being nifty 50.
Well, there's tons of stuff to get into, and as we do with all our guests, and always, listen, it's always a great time with Rob. There's two reasons why. One is the knowledge that he brings every single time he comes on our show, and if you guys do not follow him, first of all, on social media, which you should at Rob Maaddi, but also for the Faith on the Field show and for what he did during the Super Bowl. And Radio Week was something else. And I have the man here now to thank him personally because, Rob, man, what a job that you did during Radio Row for that week during the Super Bowl coverage. So thank you for what you did because it was great stuff all week long, including articles. So thank you for what you did.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And Mike, happy 50th, dude. Good.
Thank you.
I'm getting there. I'm closing in on it. I'll reach out to you for some advice when we get there. But hey, stay healthy, stay young, stay
Thank you.
strong, and age is just a number anymore. But it's good to be with you guys. Angel, at the
Nice.
top of the show, man. I hear all your introductions and Tampa Bay Titans and some hockey, and you mentioned Armature Works. Remy and I love it down there. It's pretty cool. We love Armature Works, so we're gonna have to come check that out.
Yeah, no, definitely. If you get it, listen, it would be, and I don't want to say it because I know you're consistently busy, but if you ever get either a Friday or Sunday, I'll tell you the schedule as far as when it comes to Titans. If you guys want to stop by and you want to make a quick sign-on appearance with me, I would absolutely freaking love it. Either that or the studio, one of the two.
Yeah, let's talk, man. We'll talk about it. I would definitely make some time for you, my friend.
Definitely, no problem. So I want to first say, because we know that with your relocation now down here to Florida, the great thing is you get to see as much as the man to the left of me here likes to make a lot of fun. But obviously, TB12 came back, and you've had the opportunity to cover the Bucs as well. And now Bruce Arians stepping down, which then Todd Bowles gets a second opportunity again to become a head coach. What was the feeling like you being there? What was the feeling in the room? How did Tom Brady feel? Because we know we already heard the instant rumors that because of Tom Brady is the reason why BA left. And we know that's not even anywhere near true to it being that. I know Bruce Arians had mentioned last season that when he knew it was time to step away, that he felt that he knew it was coming and he was fortunate to win a Super Bowl. So I think he stepped away at the right time. But I want to get from you being there firsthand, what was the feeling like in the room, and how much did Bruce embrace now Todd Bowles, knowing that he's going to give this team over to a great coach?
Yeah, I think when the news first came, there was some initial shock, but as you sit back and you evaluate it and you think about the situation and what Bruce has been able to accomplish and how important it is for him to be able to turn things over to one of his guys in Todd Bowles and give it to him in a situation where they could still win. And when he says that Tom Brady coming back kind of solidified in his mind that this is the time that he could step aside and turn over to Todd Bowles, a team that is a Super Bowl contender, rather than turn over a team to whether it's Todd, Byron Leftwich, or one of his other assistants, a team that's in a rebuilding mode. I think it was really important for him to do that. I thought it was cool that Tom came to the press conference last, I think it was Thursday now. My days are getting mixed up, but it was nice to see Tom Brady there. I know he sat in the front row, and he didn't say much to anybody other publicly as far as the media is concerned. But I know he and Bruce certainly had conversations behind the scenes, and he knew from when he had decided to come back that this was going to happen. And they're just turning it over to a guy in Todd Bowles who's getting a second opportunity that I think he's deserved. This is one that he probably should have gotten already. But, I often say God's timing is better than my timing, and his plan's better than my plan. And I think Todd understands that he couldn't take over a better team than he's got right now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's better than getting an opportunity somewhere else with a different team where he's in rebuilding mode. So it was great to see him get that chance and get that opportunity. And it's going to be fun to watch these Buccaneers. Now, maybe they can get Gronk to come back, and I'm sure Tom is out there doing whatever he can, right, Angel, to get Gronk to want to come back and play. I know he said this week that he's not ready to make that commitment, but I'm sure at some point he will.
Rob,
I'm quite sure. Go ahead, Fuchs.
Can you touch on two things?
Mm-hmm.
Is there some animosity between Bruce Arians and Tom Brady to maybe make Bruce Arians step down?
That was a rumor that started from the radio host. Now I forget his name. Radio host in San Diego, former player, former NFL guy, played a couple seasons in the league, and he said that there was some animosity in that Bruce Arians would kind of, what do you call it, red mark some of the offensive game plan that Brady and Leftwich put together, and that kind of got blown into maybe this is the reason why. And I could understand being skeptical about it because you hear that and you start to put two and two together. But then after being there, right, after being in that room and speaking to the guys and talking to Arians off to the side and talking to everyone involved in that situation, I really think what was most important for Bruce Arians was he was going to step aside after this season. And once he realized that Tom is coming back, that Todd didn't get an opportunity with another team, that Byron Leftwich didn't get an opportunity, he wanted to make sure his guys are taking over a team that can win. And it's important, for Bruce Arians. He calls it succession, and what he's been able to do and accomplish as a head coach. He's won a Super Bowl. He's someone who has been on the forefront of diversity and inclusion with 4 African-American assistant coaches in high positions: offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, assistant head coach, special teams coordinator, the first 2 women assistant coaches. So I think it was important for Bruce to do this, and I'm not believing that he stepped aside because of Tom Brady. I think this was more about him giving it to Todd with an opportunity to win.
Oh,
Rob, just to piggyback off that, there's a couple of things that I've been hearing, and I tend to look at like different sources on the internet and stuff like that, but I don't know what you're hearing down there, but I heard the reason why Brady wasn't going to come back initially was the fact that he wanted total control of the offense. And I don't think there was a little bit of a tiff between him and Bruce Arians. It's well documented during the season. And the other thing that I'm also hearing is the Miami Dolphins are trying to make a strong play to get Brady to come to Miami. I don't know what you're hearing down there, if you could expand upon it.
Yeah, I think the part of Brady stepping aside and retiring had more to do with him needing time to convince his wife not to go wild and crazy or do anything like file for divorce if he wanted to come back. I think he was just trying. If you heard him towards the end of the season, and I would go, he would speak usually on Thursdays, and I would be there most of those Thursdays, and just to hear him talk about his future plans, it really seemed to be where he's still at the top of his game. He wanted to play. He wanted to come back. He was having as much fun. Like I would see him, practice would be open for like 10 minutes, right? They're stretching, they're doing a few things, but he's out there smiling, having fun, joking with the guys. Like this wasn't a guy who was ready to step away, but he kept talking about how important it was for him to do right by his family, to be the husband and be the father that they deserve. So I think the initial retirement was about him buying some time to be able to step aside and say, all right, honey, I'm home. This is what life is going to be like if I'm not playing. And next thing you know, he's off selling Brady brand merchandise every day on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and whatever it may be. And then he's flying off with the boys to go watch soccer. And she's like, well, you're not home anyway. You might as well go play football. And I think that's what it was about. I don't think it was about him getting total control. I know some Boston columnists wanted to suggest that. And as far as the Miami thing, yeah, I think that they were interested in him a couple of years ago. They've invested heavily in Tua Tagovailoa right now, and he's got to be their guy for this season at least. And if he doesn't prove with all of the weapons that they've surrounded him with, right, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, then he's not the guy. Yeah, maybe there's an opportunity if Tom doesn't. If he wants to continue playing, he becomes a free agent, then there's an opportunity. Buccaneers aren't going to trade him. I don't think that they would do that at the end of the year. If he were to, there's still questions about whether there's going to be a structure, a contract restructure. Right now, it's 1 more year. He's under contract. Maybe he's going to go year to year. See how he feels. See how his body feels. If he already retired at the end of a season where he led the league in almost every statistical passing category, then I think there's a real chance that he could be one and done. So there's no commitment for a second year right now, and we're just not sure. So Miami could want him all they want. I think a lot of teams could want him right now, but he's a Tampa Bay Buccaneer for at least this season.
No, I want to get into something here before I turn over to Fuji's best friend, Howie, because him and Howie, they keep getting closer and closer every single year. But the one thing that kind of surprised me, not surprised, but I guess because I know Byron Leftwich had the opportunity of interviewing with a couple teams, Jacksonville, where you started, then New Orleans, and then Tampa wanted him back. I thought if BA at the time knew where he wanted it when he wanted to step down, that he would have turned the reins over, I guess, to Byron Leftwich. And me not even thinking about Todd Bowles already having it, under his belt for the Jets. Was there something that Bruce Arians ever talked about off mic about Byron Leftwich maybe possibly becoming a head coach, or is he looking just for Todd Bowles to kind of give him a little more time to groom and become better? And so when his opportunity comes around to be a head coach, that he's ready.
Yeah, I specifically asked him this question off outside of the news conference when we just broke it down a little bit and were able to talk to Bruce. And I said, hey, if Todd Bowles had gotten a job already, would you have turned it over to Byron Leftwich, or would you have stayed? And he said, no, I definitely would have turned it over, most likely to Byron, but maybe one of the other guys, right? One of his other assistant coaches. So he didn't give me a 100% commitment to Leftwich, but he said he would have stepped aside even if Bowles wasn't there to take over. I think the decision to give it to Bowles is he's a guy who's been the head coach. He deserves that second opportunity. And if you want to turn things over to a guy when you're a team that is a Super Bowl contender, be hard to do with a first-time head coach as young as Byron Leftwich is. I think everybody believes and understands that he's going to get his opportunity, but maybe he needs another season of grooming. Maybe he needs a couple more. Like, he was close with that Jacksonville situation, and then there was talk about, well, he wanted a different GM in there, and they decided to go in a different direction. And you can't fault them for wanting to go with Dougie P. I mean, you're getting a guy who's a Super Bowl winning head coach who went to the playoffs 3 out of his 5 years in Philly. I think he was a very underrated coaching candidate, and I'm really happy to see Doug Peterson get that job and not only get it, but close enough to where if I wanted to, I can make a drive down there to Jacksonville or up there or that way or however it goes. I'm still geographically challenged over here.
That's all right. Sean makes a quick comment before I turn over to Fuji here. He says, what's up, guys? Dan Steele reports that Jalen Hurts is in Southern California working out with Tom Brady. He's working and throwing with Brady. Good to hear this. Sean, great friend of the show as well. And Fuji had talked about it just before we came on air here about the same exact thing. And obviously for us, Rob, we know that Jalen wants to prove that he is the starting quarterback, regardless of whatever said by him and what he reads on social media and what he's talked about and everything else. He knows that he wants to be successful in Philly. He knows what it's going to take. But that is, and I mean, for me, and I know that there's not a lot of people who are Tom Brady fans, but it's good to see that, I mean, a seasoned veteran quarterback that has won now 7 championships, how much more could it not get any better than working out with him, at least to get some input from Tom Brady?
If this is accurate, and I'll find out soon enough, right? I think it's great news because I don't know why, if I was a quarterback in the NFL, if I was any athlete in the NFL or any athlete at all in any sport, I would want to eat what Tom Brady eats, sleep the way he sleeps, drink whatever he drinks, do exactly whatever the TB12 method is. If my man can go into year 45 of his life and still be at the top of his game, why wouldn't any quarterback want to emulate that? So I think that's great news for Jalen Hurts, and he could certainly pick up more than a few tidbits. He could pick up a lot of how to approach the game from a mental standpoint, how he could improve himself from a physical standpoint, and then just how to quarterback the position. So I think this would be terrific news for all Philadelphia Eagles fans.
Rob, as far as Howie with the defense, I mean, he's, he brought in some nice pieces, re-signed Derek Barnett, which was not a popular thing, but I guess depth purposes. My question is, you brought some pieces in on defense, but to me, you're not giving Jalen Hurts what he needs now. You still got to give him the chance with the draft now. Do you see Howie just making the trade for a receiver with all these draft picks, or maybe going defense with the 16th and the 18th pick overall? What's your take of this now?
I don't think you can target a position. I think that's where you get in trouble. As much as you may want to look at a position group, right? You got to go with best player available unless he's a certain, if it's a position where you feel you're strong. In the Eagles' case, you can really go any number of ways in the first round. I like what they did in that trade with the Saints. I thought this was going to happen at some point. I didn't think they were going to use all 3 first-round picks. I thought that they were going to make sure they had at least 2 next year, possibly 3. They made sure they have 2 first-round picks next year, and they got an impressive haul for that 16th overall pick. I think the 18 and 19 and the other one wash each other out, and you could say they got a first, second, and third for number 16 spread over 3 years. But in that, you don't know where that one could be next year. I don't think the Saints are going to be picking 20 to 30. I don't see them as a real deep threat or a playoff team. That one next year could be top 10, top 12, top 15. So that was very impressive from Howie Roseman to be able to pull off that trade. And now you look at where do you address some of the needs. I think they can always go depth on the O-line, depth on the D-line. I do feel they need a playmaker, another wide receiver. They need another playmaker, I feel, at running back too as well. But with some of they have 10 picks in this draft. They got that extra third. I know it's late third. It's 101. It's a compensation pick. But you can get in a wide receiver heavy draft someone in the second, third round, running back somewhere there. I know we talk a lot about linebackers. I don't see them going that way in the first round. And I don't think he's done yet, guys. I don't think he's done wheeling and dealing, maneuvering. He's a guy who's often active on draft day and throughout that 3-day process. So you could see him moving around. Maybe if there's a guy that they target that they feel is a surefire 4 or 5-time All-Pro in the top 10, top 12, they may package a few of these picks and move up to get that guy. So I think there's a number of ways that they're going to go. I don't think they're going to go quarterback at this point.
Well, I would love to see them go after a D-back for years to come, like a Sauce Gardner, because it's a passing game. Darius Slay's, who knows how long he'll be here, and it's how we just never drafted that big corner, which the Eagles really haven't had to. Besides trading for Darius Slay, I mean, you really haven't brought in that stud corner for years to come. Like, when they brought in Troy Vincent and drafted Bobby Taylor, Lito Shepherd, Sheldon Brown.
Yeah, and I think they took a shot right with Sidney Jones, and they were hoping that Sidney Jones could be a guy who could pan out, and he may still have a career outside away from the Eagles, but that's a spot. You look at the cornerback's position and someone opposite Darius Slay, and I think that's a direction they could go for sure.
Rob, just to turn it around a little bit, and I'm going to play devil's advocate on the whole Eagles-Saints trade. There are a lot of pundits up here and a lot of sports personalities are saying, what is Jalen Hurts? He can't buy a break. They're stockpiling all these picks. One of the things that the inside word is Jeffrey Lurie is still sort of fretting over the fact that they didn't draft Russell Wilson back in 2012. But a lot of pundits up here are saying they're stockpiling all these picks because they're going to buy their time with Hurts this year again. And next year's draft is going to be quarterback rich. And that's what they're getting all these picks for. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they're trying to do. And I talked about this a couple months ago, back in December, when I first got word from some people and some people around the league who were saying, hey, keep an eye out on the Eagles trading these picks because this quarterback draft, it may not be as attractive. And Jalen played to the point where he deserves another look. He deserves another opportunity, right? His first full season as a starter with a rookie head coach and a new system, he led the Eagles to the playoffs. And yeah, I know they beat a lot of losing teams, but they got there. And I know they got beat up by the Buccaneers in the playoffs, but a lot of teams got beat up by Tom Brady and the Bucs. So they got there. They got to the playoffs. He showed enough to where he warrants another look. But I don't believe anybody feels definitively that Jalen Hurts is the answer 2023 and beyond. So last year I said going into the 2021 season that the most important thing was finding out whether or not Jalen Hurts is your quarterback of the future. I don't think they got that answer. I think what they got was, hey, we need another look-see at him, and they're getting that, but they're hedging their bet because now they have 2 first-round picks next year in a draft where it's supposed to be, right? It's early, but it's supposed to be a good quarterback class. You look at Bryce Young, you look at C.J. Stroud, you look at some of the guys, and you never know who may develop over time next year, but they're now giving themselves an opportunity if they bomb out this year, if they're a 5-win team, and I don't see that happening, but if that were the case and now they're picking high, they got the Saints pick, they could potentially have 2 top 12, 2 top 15. We don't know yet where it's going to be, but I think that's what they're doing, and I think it sends a little bit of a message to Jalen that, hey, you haven't proven yet, and he knows that. Jalen knows he hasn't proven that he's going to be the guy in 23 and beyond, and he's hungry. He wants to go out there, and the fact that if he's out there working with Tom Brady, he's doing the right thing right now to make sure he can position himself to be the best possible quarterback he can be in 2022.
Right. I want to bring up Sean's question here. He said, guys, would you trade one of the first-round picks and your second-round pick to trade up to the 10 spot that the Jets have to get Sauce Gardner? You'd like to know your thoughts, Rob.
Man, I hate trading assets to move up. I'm a guy who likes to trade back and accumulate more picks. I always feel like if you have several holes and a lot of flaws, then you're better off getting the more picks you have, the better likelihood you have of actually hitting on these picks. Right now, I know Sauce Gardner is well regarded. He's a top prospect. He could be that answer at the cornerback position, but I'd be reluctant to move a 1 and a 2 to move up and make that move. I would rather take one of the other guys if it's maybe a second or third or someone who is from the 4th or 5th best top 5 prospects as opposed to doing that. I don't think the Eagles are a player away from the Super Bowl. I don't think the Eagles are 2 players away from the Super Bowl. I just don't see them being in that mix. So I think you're building now for 23, 24 and beyond. And for me, I would more likely want to move back and accumulate more picks than move up.
Yeah, I agree. Now, because I know we have about 2 minutes or so left with you here, I talked about in the beginning of the broadcast as we're coming in that it's a whole different story. And Rob, you've been on radio and obviously a broadcaster, still dealing with the Associated Press, obviously with the Faiths on the Field. I've never understood, and you don't know until you're in those shoes. And it's different when you're doing an actual broadcast compared to a podcast. So coming from you, the professional as well, me coming around the first time to it, it's a different feel. Like this is like my happy place, I guess, if you want to call it, because you even though we still watch what we say here because we always want to keep it professional, but it's also tough too because when you're into the game, you also have to remember too, you can't be one-sided. You also can't put 1,000% of your emotions out there because there could be calls that don't go the right way and everything else. But it's such a different world. When you first started with your broadcast, now it's different because when you started, of course, broadcasts were first and then the podcasts all started coming out. How was it for you the very first time around as far as doing your broadcast?
I think doing a broadcast is 1,000 times harder than doing a podcast because in a podcast you could stop, start, record again, do whatever you want to do. When I was on up north in Philly, when I was on 97.5 The Fanatic, there's no do-overs. Whatever you say, you just said, right? There's a dump button in case one of the callers says one of the words that they're not allowed to say on the air, but there's absolutely no do-over. So you got to bring your A game every single time. You have to be aware. You have to be alert. You have to be cognizant of everything going on, listening, hearing, watching. And sometimes things are happening. Like I remember being on the air and the Sixers traded for Jimmy Butler. Right. So that was something where you're reacting, you're responding. Sometimes I would come on when the Eagles were on the road and you come on right after a game. I'll never forget going on probably the most, I wouldn't say angry, but the most critical I ever was of the Eagles was coming off that loss to the Dolphins in 2019. You remember that loss? Zach Ertz dropped the ball inside the 5 and they lose to Miami, and then they end up running the table and getting in the playoffs. Came on right after that, and it was like one angry caller after another. So, and then, of course, one show I'll never, ever forget doing is being on air a couple hours after Kobe Bryant died in that helicopter, tragic helicopter accident. That was an entirely different kind of show. It was Morning with the City. mourning over the loss of a legend, and that was one of the shows that was probably the hardest I've ever had to do, because I couldn't hold back emotionally. I cried on the air 2 or 3 times just listening to some of the callers share some of their stories and some of their moments and their memories, and being a dad and having 2 daughters, and just like I was about to fly out to the Super Bowl the next day, and my girl saying don't go. It really was hard. It was an emotional 4 hours, and probably one. I mean, certainly I would never want to do that again, because you never want to see any legend or anyone pass away like that.
Right. I want to leave you with this one last thing before I let you go. You're talking about sharing stuff. And by the way, for everyone who's listening in tonight, we have Rob Maaddi with the Associated Press, also from Faith on the Field. And if you guys need some enlightening, watch Faith on the Field. Go to faithonthefield.com. Take a look at what goes on there, because you will. It self-healing, I guess, is the best way I can describe it when you're with Faith on the Field. But the one thing that I do want to say is, you talk about uplifting. How about the email that was shared with you not too long ago? Because the comment that I came up earlier, which wasn't a bad one, other than the one where I was in there with Noble, saying that you're a big get as far as coming on with us tonight. And we appreciate Noble for the comment.
Thank you, Noble. Yeah.
As far as, how about you talk about, people who like to, like bring you down, or people like to just say some negative all the time. And you had one person, individual, that attempted over and over and over again to get under your skin. And you did everything possible just to not even do it on purpose, but try to uplift the person. They end up having an experience, and then they credit you for it, because it was almost like you to give up on them to make them give up on themselves. So that was pretty nice as far as the email that he showed. And then obviously you shared with everyone on social media. So listen, thank you for that, because obviously if we could have had the guy on here tonight, it would have been nice for him to be able to say it personally, but that's absolutely fantastic.
Well, thank you for that. And yeah, it was, there's a lot of trolls out there, guys, right? There's a lot of haters. There's a lot of people who will say some mean things to you, some negative things to you. And there was a period of time where, anytime I would say anything in defense of Carson Wentz, or just try to set the record straight, because there was so much, the narrative was so false in regards to him, that people would attack me and come at me and come after me. And I reached a point this year where I was like, you know what, I'm going to just start blocking people. And then this guy reached out to me and said, it's funny. I will share this about him, right? He sent me the email, and it was through a form on my website, robmaaddi.com. He had 41-33, the score of the Super Bowl, in his email address. That was like part of it. Like, his name, 41-33. I was like, my man is a diehard Eagles fan. I wonder how many other people have 41-33. I'm sure a lot of people got that all over passwords and all email addresses, whatever. But I digress. And he said, hey, I was one of the people who, I would say some things to you and when that was going down, and you reached out and said, if you need any prayers, I got you. And I remember I'd say that a lot to some people, because sometimes people are so hateful. I'm like, man, you need some prayers. Like, I don't know what's going on in your life, but to be that mean to someone, something's got to be going on in your life. So if you need some prayers, let me know, because I know you're hating what I'm saying right now, but let me pray for you. So this guy, a couple times, I said that to him, and unbeknownst to me, like, he just started following some of the Faith on the Field videos. And there was one I think that he saw. I spoke at a church, and it kind of got him. He was a heavy drinker, and he started going to AA, and he started getting into a church. And I think this email was like last week, and he said he had just been baptized. So I thought that was pretty cool, pretty awesome. So it's nice to know that sometimes, God uses you to impact people that way. So I was very appreciative of him sending me that message, because you know what, guys, it makes me think twice about blocking people. It makes me think like, hey, you know what, maybe instead of blocking, maybe I could respond with love and continue doing that. So thankfully I haven't had too much hate lately. So we'll see. Mike, I know you wanted to get in a couple questions before I head out, so I'll certainly stick around for that.
Sixers playoff, Sixers run, and Phillies record. And how many wins for the Phils?
Well, Sixers, I don't see them winning the NBA title, but it would be fun to see a nice long run. I just picked up, I wanted to make sure I could follow the playoffs and watch down here. Maybe Angel can give me some ideas on what's the best way, right? I had DirecTV for the football season, got to watch all those games, and then I'm like, well, I don't need DirecTV in the off season, so what am I doing? So I got YouTube TV now to watch some of the Sixers games. But anyway, as far as the Phillies are concerned, I had an opportunity to go down to the Nick Castellanos news conference here, and the Kyle Schwarber news conference. Got in another day. Also a couple other days, and I think they're going to be a fun team to watch, fun team who's going to hit the ball. Their defensively is going to be some issues, but I could see them at 86 wins. I think that's where I'll go with the Phillies, 86 wins, enough to get in as a wild card team.
Nice. Thanks. No,
keep
no
you
problem. Any longer. Appreciate you coming on.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely, guys. Absolutely.
As always, thank you for coming on, and please let the people know exactly where they can find you.
They can just follow me on Twitter at Rob Maaddi. All of my social is at Rob Maaddi. Insta is at Real Rob Maaddi, and Faith on the Field at faithonthefieldshow.com.
No problem. Listen, Rob, thank you so much. We'll get together for a couple things to make sure. But listen, tell the family I said hello, and again, happy birthday to your mom.
I will. Thank you, and happy 50th to you, Mike. Thank you, fellas.
Thank you. Appreciate
it. No problem.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Rob. All right. Oh, look who's in major focus. Well, our second guest tonight is the Godfather.
Take me off. Thanks. I don't want to be.
Put it back. Put it back.
No, put it back. Okay, yeah. We'll make him the second guest here. So on with us tonight is the Godfather, now turned half of a century old. Thanks, Rob. Good insight. I'll make sure I let him know there, Rob or Sean. I'll make sure I let him know. But listen, again, great points that obviously were discussed tonight. Thank you, Sean, also for your questions as well. Let me bring it back up. Ducky, again, I will mention come next week, we will give away some draft party tickets. And Noble, once again, thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate it, man. Also for, as we talk about Tom, thank you. And well, first of all, I want to get to number one before we get into any more sports or anything else. How, from what I understand, and I could be wrong since we have our second guest tonight being the Godfather.
I'm not a guest. Don't put me on the spot.
So, from what I understand, there was about 400 people that a surprise party thrown to you by your wife, Kristen. That's the numbers I was hearing, what we're getting fed from, if I understand it correctly. So I heard it was about 400 people there at your birthday party. Then there was the after party, I believe, right down the street from your house, if I remember correctly.
No, there wasn't 400 people. I was fortunate to have about 50 wonderful people at my party, not people, family, friends, guys I grew up with, I work with, blessed to have, thank, Kristen for a beautiful surprise party. Thank you to her. Put a lot of work put into it. Had about close to a couple hundred birthday wishes. I'm very blessed and want to thank everybody for, the messages, the love, and, especially turning half a century old. And, I just feel very appreciative. And I want to thank everybody out there watching, everybody that came, you guys, Kristen, for throwing it. And, much appreciated, Mike and Sean for getting me out. And, just, went out, had a couple beers and watched a little bit of
a couple.
Yeah. I would say at least more than one would be appropriate.
Define a couple.
You had to throw it in there.
We
really had to throw that into the mix.
There's no turning back now, buddy.
But like, I like to say thanks. I feel blessed and much appreciative to everybody. I'm gonna make you an offer you can't refuse.
Exactly. We'll make sure to get the happy birthday music in there. That's right here. That was your walk-up song that I did hear when the party at the facility started.
I can't recall. I can't recall.
Can't recall. Ducky, what's going on? We are doing fantastic. Once again, Ducky Cornish, the guy who is making the tickets available. So we will start probably, matter of fact, and maybe either this Thursday or come next week, definitely. But Ducky, once again, thank you so much for putting that together. So the draft party tickets will come. We're going to put all the details and all the good fun stuff together. You guys tune in on Thursday, and then come next week, we'll make sure we throw it out there. And Sean says, Fuji, you're welcome. The words of Ric Flair. Woo!
Woo!
I try to do it, and I never can. So look at that. Just having to get out there tonight.
And then you're broadcasting now. You're always running that mouth.
Yeah. Listen, running for 2 hours and about 15 minutes straight of talk.
You're all talked out during. What do you do? Fridays, Saturdays?
Fridays and Sundays are when it happens, and it's tough because you have. And by the way, Jack, I don't want to mispronounce the last name. Petrides, Mrs. Jack. And her dad was kind of interesting as you're saying that, because it just reminded me. Thank you. And if you guys are tuning in from Northampton, Massachusetts, thank you for listening in. The coolest compliment ever that I heard, and I shared it with Fuji. It's odd when you have someone to come up to you and say, hey, you're Broad Street South, and I listen to you, and they live somewhere other than Philadelphia. She's up in New England. And it was very cool experience to be able to meet her as I was setting up the broadcast. This was on Sunday. And I did see her on Friday. And originally, it looked like she wanted to come up, but she came up to me on Sunday. And it was really neat for her, the kind words that she said as far as she tuned in, found the show, and has been listening in. So we do appreciate, as we appreciate everyone from around the country that listens to us. We can't do this all without you guys, and we do appreciate it. The same way, the same appreciation for the Tampa Bay Titans, because as I get back to it now, it's tough. I will say that much. During the podcast, it's different because we've gotten used to it, and it continues to grow. Obviously, we continue to grow in different markets, and Tampa has really boomed down here, which is really nice. Miami has picked up a lot of steam. Orlando's picked up a lot of steam. So it's really nice to see in the state of Florida, and I thank you guys for being a part of it as well. But when you have to come up with stuff for 2 hours and 15 minutes from start to end, including during a halftime, I only take about a 2-minute break during a half. And that's when I show the 2-minute segments with the Titans that I came up with and had shared it with Jack. But it's hard because not only are you, just like Rob said, paying attention to the game, what's going on between the fouls and everything else, the crowd that's on hand, obviously with some of the things, and it's been a nice crowd for the most part, except for the team that played this past week from Carolina Coyotes. You talk about a game that it was, and it's fun to say in a good way, but also kind of frustrating that night, because it was like watching the Harlem Globetrotters come into town and just play with the Titans from the third and the fourth quarter, and not taking anything away from the team, obviously, because they put their hearts out there to try and come back. At one point, they were down by 10. They came back. They were down by 12 at the half. But after that, Carolina just ran along with it. And, I mean, good team. I can't take anything away from Carolina. It was frustrating because they did run the floor. But when you have 2 hours of straight talk time and you got fillers in between and everything else, it's not the easiest thing in the world. I will say, this is home. This is what I love to do with the guys I do it with. But being a broadcaster now officially, and never give up on a dream, because you never know where your dreams are going to take you. And I'm fortunate and thankful and blessed to be a part of it. But it's different because you do have to watch extremely what you say. And no matter how intense the game gets, you just can't turn around and be like, that foul. Like, you got to keep everything in check. Remind yourself that you are a broadcaster and you're a professional, and keep it moving. So yeah, it's not easy. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. It's fun, but I got to haul a lot of equipment because everything that I bring there is all on me. As the team continues to become better and being in the league now for 2 years, and Basil Harfuch, the gentleman who owns the team itself, great guy, a lot of fun to meet and talk to. But he already puts in a lot of money from the ownership level. So to me, bringing my stuff down there and setting it up and people appreciating it, enjoying it, and Aiden, my camera guy, it's a lot of fun. And my producer, who still gets involved with me because she's right next to me.
Mhm.
And so she helps out. And I, as I told her, and I will tell everybody on air, without her, I couldn't do what I do, because I called my producer, and yes, she listens to the sound of the show to make sure everything's good. And she comes into the studio, she runs it with notes if something is not going well. But she's been my rock since the beginning of Broad Street South, and she continues to be that same rock now with the Tampa Bay Titans, and I can't thank her enough. I love her to death, and she's absolutely awesome. So, and I know she's over at Studio B, and I don't want to see too much because now I end up getting teared up, but she does a phenomenal job, and I'm forever grateful for her. Thank you. Dylan said, sorry, Rick says, hello, folks. Dylan around? No, Dylan will be back on Thursday. He's over with the Blue Jays, and he's got his final games coming up, and then he will be with the minor league team. I was going to say the minority team. See how much the world is all freaking got me all screwed up here. He is with the minor league team that will be throughout the season, and then he also just recently was awarded another contract by the high school team that plays there at TD Bank Field. So Dylan's doing big things, and the kid's great. And when we go off air here, just remind me. But hopefully coming up very soon, we will be talking to players from the Clearwater Threshers, and I'll just leave that at that. And hopefully that will come about. And there might be even some Toronto Blue Jays players that we able to be able to speak to. So I'm not going to dive in too much to it, but I'll let my guys know here off air. But that's where he is, Rick. Ducky says, I'll be giving away 8 tickets on April 12th and 8th and April 28th. Angel, check your email for the other 4 tickets to confirm before you send them back to me. And yeah, I will. I definitely will. It's just been a lot of stuff going on here. Ducky and I do appreciate it. I don't freaking sleep. Not anymore. I don't. I think I sleep at the maximum. I used to have 4 hours of sleep. I think I get about 2 now at this point. After prepping everything up that needs to be prepped and set, and promotions and video clippings and audio and everything else. And we're still trying to get everything set up over there as far as the way we would love the audio and video to feed. But yeah, Rick, like next to nothing. And then roll that around, because by the time I get done, now starts football season all over again. That's if we don't make it into the playoffs, because we make it into the playoffs and you're looking at late June, early July, but by the time the season's over.
Don't rush the football season to come back.
Well, listen.
Not ready.
Yeah. Well, and plus then we have the USFL pretty soon here coming up.
Yeah, we do.
There is a lot of stuff. There's a lot of interesting coming up. NASCAR, I haven't paid too much attention, and I apologize. Like I told the guys from Redline Radio LLC, by the way, they had from what I understand, a very successful show at Detroit Power Piston Show, which unfortunately I had to miss because then I got picked up by the Tampa Bay Titans and I had to call the games. But I'm glad to hear, and from what I understand, they got more people coming over to sign on with them. So great job to Dave, Lee, Lex, Timbuktu, Honey. All those guys and girls over there, they're putting their hearts and souls into that, into what's becoming a bigger corporation at this point. But for those guys and girls that put their hearts into it and their souls and everything else, congratulations to Dave and all those guys over there at Redline Radio LLC. They're doing big things, and it's really good to see when a lot of people didn't believe in Dave just about less than about a year ago or so. So congratulations to Dave. But listen, we got, and Ducky says one more time here, Fuji, tag me in the picture when you go to the draft party on the 28th.
Yes, sir. Thanks for the draft party tickets as well. I appreciate it.
Absolutely fantastic. Now, we're talking about here the Sixers, and Fuji, you brought up a point, I think, before we went on air here, that there's a realm and or also a rumor that supposedly Doc Rivers is planning on going back to the LA side of the house.
The rumor is speculation that he could be a candidate for either the Lakers job or another job to possibly be open.
Okay. I want
to
know.
Here, it's all hearsay speculation.
Right. But
Ryan, have you heard any of this?
I think if he doesn't make a deep playoff run, he's gone. He's going to have to get past the first round, obviously. He might even have to get past the second round. From what I'm hearing is if they don't get to the Eastern Conference Finals, he's on his way out. So it's just a lot of fans, especially with Embiid, A lot of the stuff that I'm hearing is Embiid's been around so long now. He's done this, he's done that. All right, you wanted Harden, we brought Harden here. We got a better coach, we brought Doc Rivers in. If they don't do something in the next couple of years to get over the hump, Embiid's going to be gone.
Well, this is a 2-year window anyway. I mean,
right.
The rumors speculating that the Sixers brass in the front office may not want to give Harden a max contract. How true it is, I don't know. I mean, you kind of have to be foolish if you don't. I mean, what you gave up to get Harden. I mean, Simmons had to go, but that's beside the point.
I mean, the inside word about Harden is, I guess Embiid and Bradley Beal are really close, and Embiid's trying to campaign to get Bradley Beal to come to Philly. That's on the down low. We'll have to see what happens with Harden going into the playoffs. I just don't think they have the depth on the bench. The starting five is going to have to do it all because the bench is too sporadic. They had, what was it, 8 points against the Pistons, and in the following game against the Hornets, the bench scored like 40 points. That's what they're going to need going into the playoffs. If they have to rely on the starting five to do the bulk of the work, it's going to catch up with them at some point.
Of course, with Embiid, I mean, this is the longest, the most games he's played in his career. I mean, his body's already wearing down. I mean, I think he just came out the other day and said he's been playing with a bad cut on his finger for the last 2 months. And he's like, I don't feel it. It's all hard. But first of all, not to jump right into the offseason, but if you're going to bring in Bradley Beal you're going to have to get rid of Tobias Harrison, his max contract, but who's going to take that?
Nobody at this point, because there's not too many teams that right now that have the room in their salary cap to do so. So, unless someone's like super desperate, maybe New Orleans, but even them, with their situation right now, they have no idea what their just draft choice, a shy 2 years ago, then now all of a sudden one's out. The same thing too. That's why I think the big thing is, and Sean, I'm going to bring up your question or your comment in a moment. That's why I think when you start telling and having these guys basically doing whatever they want to do and saying, oh, I want to create a super team here. I get X amount of money. I should be able to make calls and do whatever I want to. That to me, that's why the problems are arising the way right now everywhere. Major League Baseball, the NFL, the NBA. That's why I don't think these guys, and no different than LeBron, because now you have LeBron, who obviously is in LA, but now he had mentioned during the All-Star break that he may come to Cleveland one more time. He also is one of those reasons why, as Sean put up there, that they're saying that Vogel might be gone. He's a top candidate for a Lakers job. So good riddance, something happened with Doc and Embiid in the locker room after a loss to the Bucs. But for me, you got LeBron James, who's constantly wanted either his coach in there, or if things don't work out the way they want to, then he wants out. LeBron's also aging out there. And I know he wants to wait around. He wants to wait for Bronny to get there so he can either play on the same team or play against them one or two. But it's time. And you put this super team together with the Lakers, and anybody knows when you have too many egos together in that same room, it's not going to work. You have in New York, obviously, Ben Simmons, who's trying to sue now the Sixers for $20 million in back pay. Well, guess what? That wallet hurts, right? But that's his fault for doing so. I don't care who says what. It is his fault. There's a difference between mental health, and there's also a big difference between you crying wolf the whole entire time, and then you actually come out and say yourself that it had nothing to do with mental health, and now you're using the excuse in New York that it's your lower back issue. And so now they're going through it. Well, we went through it, and he's been there less time than he was with the Sixers. And ultimately, I can guarantee you, if the Lakers, Clippers, or anyone from LA calls up Ben Simmons and says, Ben, you're here. I'll be, wow, my back is gone. I'm good. Watch you shoot some hoops. I bet you that he doesn't want to be there. Everybody knows it. He doesn't want to be there. But nobody wants to admit it on the radio, and that's fine. I understand it. But in the end, Ben doesn't want to be there. So to me, I wouldn't like to see Doc go. I would like to see what Doc could do. Maybe one more year here in Philly. But if it's for him to be out there in LA, then I guess go out to LA. We already know Frank Vogel's going to be gone. Even if LeBron goes, he's going to have Frank gone, no matter which way you look at it. And it's a shame because players really shouldn't come down to the point where, hey, you know what? This coach should be gone. I can understand if you're talking about starting the season, I don't know, 0-26. All right, yeah. You know what? Your coach hasn't done anything, but it's also in your team as well. If you're doing a rebuild from the bottom up, then you can't expect for a first-year head coach to do it. I mean, USC tried it, almost did it, win a national championship. But it's the same way, too. Sometimes you got to ride that wave. But for me, I think it's been too much on Doc Rivers. And I'm just speaking out of my own opinion here. I think, could he do a better job? Yes, of course, like any other coach could do a better job. But I would hate to see him go. I don't know how you guys feel, but I would like to see Doc at least stick around for one more year.
No, I agree. I mean, like you said, it all depends on how far he takes the Sixers. I mean, you can't fire the players, but it's usually the coach, that basically gets the axe.
Right.
Well, there's one coach's name that always comes up, rumor wise, and that's the guy, in Villanova, Jay Wright. Everybody says he would be a good fit for the Sixers, but the inside word is Jay Wright does not want to go to that next level because he doesn't want to deal with the whole rigmarole of the NBA.
Right.
But his name constantly pops up. I think what's going to happen this year, if Doc can't take the Sixers to at least the Eastern Conference Championship round, he's gone. He's going to have to make a deep run. If he doesn't make the deep run, I think that's it.
Yeah, but who do you bring in? That's the question.
Don't know, but I think
for another day.
It's going to come down to Embiid's only going to deal with so much here in the next couple of years, and if he's not satisfied, he's going to roll. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Well, the window's closing. I mean, with his injuries, how many more years can the poor guy put on mileage on the body, especially being a big man?
And I don't.
As they get older, the body breaks down.
And I really don't think Harden is letting on how much he is actually hurt. He just doesn't look right. He just doesn't look the same. He's dealt with that hamstring for how long? He got it healthy, but I just don't think he's right, and I don't think he's letting on how badly he's actually dealing with stuff. He's just trying to play through it and keep his mouth shut. So
he doesn't look right.
He doesn't.
No, he doesn't. And you have the Nets. Why am I drawing a blank here? Good Lord.
Larry?
He just said, huh?
Who are you thinking of?
He just said it because of his, huh?
Kevin Durant?
Yeah. He just
it was Durant.
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving?
No, Durant. Listen, guest of the night. Let's ask the guest of the night what.
No, don't ask me.
But no, he had talked about that because of him. He felt like personally, because of his knee, is the reason why the Nets had a tank of a season the way it did. You know what? And it takes a big person to admit that. And I also know because of the whole mask thing and the mandate thing and everything else that Kyrie Irving didn't get his time either. So, I mean, it was a realm of thing that happened with the Nets. But there'll be a next year. Hopefully those guys want to hang in there because you never know. Hopefully Kevin Durant can heal and he can get better. He rushed to come back because he wanted to make sure that he turned things around for the Nets. And, I mean, the Knicks they had a hot start at the beginning of the season, not so much anymore, but they look like they were ready to make a playoff push. So no one ever knows. And to say who's going to be the next coach here for the Sixers, if Doc decides to go, who knows? I don't even know at this point who's available unless they decide to bring Frank Vogel here. I have no idea who would be next.
They may decide to give Sam Cassell a shot. That's what I'm thinking.
I can see that.
Yeah, Sam wouldn't be bad at all.
I mean, he's paid his dues. It's great.
By the way, before we sign off here and we start thanking our sponsors for the incredible job they do for us here on the show, did anyone get it in? Well, first of all, do you guys remember the Malice in the Palace?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, Ron Artest, Ben Wallace.
Yeah. And by the way, Netflix, you're welcome here for this free plug. But it was good to see it that they actually brought it back, and like you finally get to hear the stories from the guys and how they felt and everything else. That's the one cool thing I will say about Netflix and in documentaries, the way they're doing it. They're actually being able to, in which they have more of an opportunity than obviously we would. But it's nice to see they're going back on some of these stories and getting caught up on how the guys felt and everything else. And then there was the other one with the point shaving, which that one. Man, with Arizona, that was something else. That was incredible. But that because obviously the anniversary is coming up here with the Malice in the Palace, but how about that for that whole fiasco and the way it started just with that one beer toss to Ron Artest, and then from there he changed over his name to Meta World Peace, and he even talked about it on Netflix special on how much he still has to reflect upon everything that he does on a daily basis because it's still not as much as that affects him, but because he got tired of the negative energy and he continues to do trying to just constant positive energy all the time. But great job by Netflix, and I mean it was just crazy to hear it in Seattle all over again. But I'm also amazed how many people didn't know about that.
I thought you were talking about Fuji's birthday party at first.
Well,
Malice
that's a whole different Malice in the Palace there. So yeah.
Well, I have to admit, I was dancing on some tables.
See, that's why I said, listen, you say 40. The official word was the Associated Press, matter of fact, came out and the Philly Inquirer. It was the evening news that put it out there. It was about 400 people. They said they had to freaking kick out from the veterans place that you guys went to. They had to get rid of them, and then the whole party came over to Nick's roast beef.
How do you know?
I have inside people. Yeah, they were there.
I want these rumors proved or disproved.
What we'll ask the guests of the show. So, was it true or not? There was 400 people there.
No, I told you 40 or 50. Then I got a couple hundred messages.
Well, see, so then once again, there was 400 people there.
No, if there was 400 people there, the fire department when it came.
Big 5-0, buddy. There's no turning back now.
Sure isn't.
I don't feel 50. Some days I do, but
yeah,
I'm still dancing like when I was in my 20s. So
that's all right. And by the way,
still can't be that old.
Listen, I've seen the man dance. I will say he does not dance now that he's 50, but then he didn't dance like a 49-year-old. I will give him that much. He is Gene the dancing machine, that's for sure. And matter of fact, if Dancing on Air was still on, and yeah, he'll be busting a move out there. But hey, listen, you didn't stop for, if I remember correctly, it was about 45 minutes straight dancing. I think the only time, and you should have been there, Neff, because he was going off, right? I have no music or anything else to go on, but he was going off. He comes back. He was like the Godfather. He comes back, Kristen pats him on the head, and he goes right back out there dancing again. Oh, guy's amazing. It's amazing. I couldn't believe it. But and he brought the house down, by the way. It was probably about 5 people when we walked in. By the time we left, it must have been 1,000 folks because they heard he was there and he was partying. So it's a good job by the Fuji.
Thanks, appreciate it. That's a little
Don Fuji, the
little far-fetched.
It wasn't, folks. I'm telling you, it wasn't. There was no rumors or speculations on that one. I won't say the name of the bar because they actually took a picture of him and it's posted up on there almost by the ceiling, and it has the Godfather up there, and it showed the dance minutes and everything else. So it's not rumors or speculation. Matter of fact, we'll ask the guest again. Guest, we know that it's up there. You can just go ahead and admit it, guest.
Whatever you say. Much obliged for the accolades, though.
There's no problem. I give it to the people who can do it. And the man can dance. If you guys want to see him, matter of fact, we're going to set up a private party maybe before the season starts. And you guys can all come out and see the man himself. He gets down. He doesn't need any rollerblades, roller skates, nothing else. Maybe the afro. If we can throw some afro on him because he can get down with some disco as well. But it's okay. We'll set it up. We'll have a viewing party before the season kicks off. But by the way, for the next couple weeks that are coming up, we have Rachel Rivette from BGN. She'll be on the show along with a doubleheader of Seth Joyner and Jason Martinez. And Ryan, I will give you this one because I am super excited about the other person that's going to be on the show with us here towards the end of the month.
Who are we referring to?
JJ.
Mr. Jim Jackson.
Jim Jack. Yeah, I'm still he said he wants to do the show. I told him what times are available when the Flyers don't have games. Haven't heard back from him yet, but I expect him to get back to me because he
See, I'm telling you, I'm not the only one. Thanks, Rick. See, Rick backing me up.
Appreciate it.
I'm expecting him to get back to me so he can come on the show because what better person to talk about the Flyers in the state that the Flyers are in than JJ?
Also the Phillies.
True.
Exactly.
He covers them.
Yep.
That's a twin kill right there.
It's a plethora of knowledge right there, my friends.
That's right. Big
Yes,
words
sir.
tonight, folks. You don't have to go to bigwords.com. We give you all the plethoras and the precipice while we're at it. See that?
You got it, Martinez.
I'm sorry. Listen. It's okay. I'll leave it there. I'll leave it at that. But anyways, listen, thanks to everyone who tuned in tonight. And we also like to thank our sponsors here, starting with Tampa Joe's. You guys visit tampajoes.com if you are coming down to the Tampa area and or coincidentally are attending a Tampa Bay Titans game. By all means, stop by 9316 Anderson Road out there in beautiful Tampa, Florida. A hop, skip, and a jump from the airport, and you can just helicopter ride over from the tarmac over as the national correspondent squeezed in here, which doesn't make the show any easier to start running the promos
Easy
here.
ring
But
chaser.
thanks to TampaJoes.com and always Mike Goodwin, who just opened up store number 70 with Bubba Coos. So thanks to Mike Goodwin, and Ryan's going to screw me up here. Thanks to Mike and the group, Rob, everyone who puts a fantastic job together out there, and always Philly to South, who supports being part of the club. And during the NFL season, please join us at 9316 Anderson Road, TampaJoes.com. Visit, look at the menu. Serious fun, great place. Enjoy it. Also with PhillySportsTrips.com. If you guys need a sporting getaway, it doesn't get any more professional. It doesn't get any more better than this. With PhillySportsTrips.com, take a look at their lineup they got coming up. And for the first time ever, they are going overseas for a golf outing. The only time that Vince will not be on that trip, and that's only because we have the good Lord. He has his second daughter that's coming up, and he was able to meet his family. It was a great time meeting them. But again, if you guys want to go on a outing, check out PhillySportsTrips.com. Along with, if you have Eagles, now see, don't tell me I screwed up here. Not Eagles,
Tongue tied.
but if you have
Try again.
and or need credit card payment solutions and or looking for apparel, and that's why I was thinking about the Eagles, visit lgdirect.net for everything that you may need as far as apparel. Reach out to Larry Gilman, who does a great job here supporting the studio, and that's the reason why the studio name is behind him. As
Tom
now,
Brady's jersey.
yeah, the national correspondent is rocking the sunglasses here. But if not, give him a call, 855-777-3863, 855-777-3863, lgdirect.net, the Big Sarge Sports Talk. I have no idea what in the world you just said here, but the Big Sarge Sports Talk. Visit you guys are screwing me up now. BigStarSportsTalk.com, and also listen to the show Monday through Friday in the trenches. See, I can't mess around with you two because you all screw me up here. But that's all right though. Listen to the show in the trenches from 10 to 12 Central Standard Time, 11 to 1 Eastern Standard Time.
Houston,
Andy Khalid, Big
790.
Sarge. Yes, Sports Talk 790 with Jacob Beck behind the glass and Chris Gordy. Those guys do an outstanding job. And also with our special partnership with Super Draft Pro. If you guys love betting here for good things, check out Super Draft Pro. You can go to BroadStreetSouth.com, BroadStSouth.com for that. What's that?
Nothing. I was gonna comment on something, but I'll be quiet.
Oh boy.
No, it's like this. How much did they pay him to do that? Why couldn't one of us be like?
Because you never know. You got to be. It's the right place at the right time.
See,
You never know.
Yeah, but the guys like this, like
Fuji, do that again, but do it as a guest. Put the guest up. Go ahead.
it cracks me up every week. Like the guys just like
You never know.
He's ready to throw punches or something. I don't know. Maybe he thinks he's Balboa.
It could be. Matter of fact, you know what? We'll take a picture like that when we have your party up there. We'll make sure that we'll all take a picture and you can do that.
My party, it'll never happen.
No, it'll happen. Don't you worry about that, mister. And by the way, thank you. Oh, don't forget, you guys. Also, Kendall's Crusade, the second annual, the One-Arm Golf Challenge with Leslie Goodell, our guest from just last week, or actually the week before, May 31st is the next one coming up here. So please save the date. If you can, please participate in or reach out to Leslie Goodell because she puts on a great benefit. Not as much as when it comes to for her daughter, but because of the crusade itself. So please save the date, May 31st. And also a special thank you so much. And I'm very much appreciative and grateful for the Tampa Bay Titans. If you guys get the opportunity, please come out to a Titans game. Again, they'll be away on Friday. They'll be back on Sunday, 1701 North Boulevard in Tampa, Florida at Blake High School. It's a great time. The team's absolutely phenomenal. Again, thanks to Basil and the guys that give me the opportunity over there. And it's fun to do the 2 minutes with the Titans. It's always a blast. So thank you to the Tampa Bay Titans. Again, visit TampaBayTitans.com along with visiting BroadSTSouth.com. Last comments coming in here. Ducky, I will let you know. I will let you for next Tuesday, I believe so. So, but I'll reach out to you, Ducky. So don't. I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it.
Go Titans.
Oh, and by the way, you guys, if you get the opportunity, also follow Drunk Phil's Fan. Those guys do an amazing job with their blog, and they do a fantastic, phenomenal job. Hopefully, Chris will have them back on here coming up, maybe probably next week. I have to get together with them to bring them back. Also, Rick says, happy birthday, Fuji.
Thank you, Rick. Appreciate it.
Rick always working out there Southwest doing a phenomenal job so they can bring people back home after so many cancellations over the weekend. But with that being said, thank you to, once again, my favorite producer, the love of my life in the next room over at Studio B. Thank you to Debbie. Thank you for everyone who tunes in. Again, 30 states stateside as it continues to grow. 11 countries overseas. Thank you once again to Australia, Brazil, Uruguay, and still hopefully more to come. We can't do this stuff without you guys. We are beyond grateful and blessed and thankful for you tuning in, listening to the audio download. We do appreciate the love, and it's never, never forgotten. So thank you so much. Also to my national correspondent who decided he wanted to be silly today and make me laugh during the promos. I appreciate it. And for the Godfather that once again turns half a century old. Thank you to everyone. We will see you all, of course, on Thursday. And Thursday, I don't believe, if I remember correct. No, is guest is coming on Thursday, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure. Once again.
Yes, sir.
All righty. So everyone, listen, appreciate it. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you all on Thursday night, 8 p.m.
Go Birds, go
Have a
Sixers,
great
go
night.
Phils. Ring the bell, play the song. Fly
Wow.
Eagles, fly.
All that. There you go.